So if you're using IP snooping, you are populating the bindings database on your switch with all that great information, particularly the source MAC address, the source IP address, the port out which a system lives. Why not leverage that information to guard against both IP spoofing as well as ARP spoofing? Let's take a look at these two features in this nugget. So I've constructed a topology for us to work with. As a matter of fact, if you have taken my nugget on DHCP snooping, you know this topology. Sure, it's a topology we were working with there. I have the DHCP snooping feature configured on both of these switches in order to protect VLAN 100. This is a trusted port, and this is a trusted port because we have our DHCP server right here. So there's our DHCP server sending the legitimate IP information to these two clients here. Let's kind of prove this, shall we? On switch 1, let's look at the DHCP snooping bindings. So we go show IP, DHCP snooping binding. And we can see that we have the MAC address information for both R5 and R1, as well as the IP addresses that were leased out and the ports they live out on. So we have two features that can be used separately away from DHCP snooping, but that can leverage the DHCP snooping database, and what a great idea. The first is called dynamic ARP inspection, and the second that we'll look at is called IP source guard. Dynamic ARP inspection is guarding against someone sending in with gratuitous ARP false information about MAC addressing to do like a man-in-the-middle attack. They want traffic to be redirected to them, let's say, as if they're a default gateway. So what we do is we say to check this known mapping information that we have and shut down any data plane traffic that would attempt to be utilizing the, bad MAC address information. Pretty cool. In fact, we can test this just by changing the IP address on R5 or R1, because then it would not match the ARP information in this database. Literally, to this switch, it would look like someone else is coming along trying to pretend to be that MAC address. Pretty cool. So how do we do this? It's again one of those features, the dynamic ARP inspection, that's just so unbelievably easy to turn on. You just go to the device and we would say IP ARP inspection, and we would indicate that we want to protect VLAN 100, for example. Then what you do is you go to your trusted interfaces that you would do for DHCP snooping, and you go ahead and trust them for the ARP inspection. So in our case, we would go to the Fast Ethernet 0/16 and we would say IP ARP inspection trust. So we'll have the same trusted ports that we would have in the DHCP snooping configuration. So our verification here is show IP ARP inspection, as you might guess, and it says, okay, we've got some additional features that you could do that are not enabled, but as far as the feature on VLAN 100, it is enabled and active, and we haven't logged any attackers. So an easy way to test this is going to be for us to go over to R1, for example, and on R1, we will change the IP address. IP address, it was DHCP. We'll go ahead and say IP address is 10.10.10.11. Now watch what's going to happen over on the switch 1. Here on switch 1, we should see, there it is, log messages saying, whoa, 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 we have a problem here. We've got an invalid ARP address on the network. Sure, this device at 10.10.10.11 is possessing the MAC address that somebody else has, according to our DHCP bindings database. So cool. Now, if you were to miss those log messages, obviously you have your verification command of show IP ARP inspection, and here we can see we are getting information about drops due to this particular security feature. Now, the great question comes up here, what if you have a device out there that is not getting its IP information dynamically from your DHCP server? Well, no problem. You can go ahead and do static ARP inspection entries. So you can populate this with entries for your statically assigned devices. Now, to keep things as secure as possible, we could also set up the verification of IP address. How is this done? Well, it's done under your interfaces. So in our case, we would go under interface fast Ethernet 0/5. In fact, let me use a fancy range here. Interface range FA0/5 space, comma, space, FA0/1. And in this range, we would say IP verify source. It's that simple. The verification command here would be show IP verify source. And it says, yes, okay, you're doing IP source guard on fast Ethernet 0/1 and fast Ethernet 0/5. So if there's any manipulation of the source IP address out there, we would drop that traffic in the data plane. And once again, if you need to doctor up the device with static entries, there are commands that you can utilize to do that. Now, in my demonstration, keep in mind to be brief and succinct. We did all of these configurations here on switch 1, but to fully protect our environment, of course, we would be making these configurations on all of the switches in our topology. Now, I thought I would end this nugget with showing you where this is documented, because who knows, maybe they would have you make a static entry on either the IP source guard feature or the dynamic ARP inspection. So what you do is you go to switches this time, and I'm on 3560s, so I come over here to campus LAN switches access. I go to my 3560, there it is, and we would go to our particular device. Oh, I believe it's this guy right here that I'm using today. We'd go to the documentation, we'd go to the configuration guides, the security configuration guide, and here we can see the IP source guard and dynamic ARP inspection features documented for us. And notice there is the ability to configure dynamic ARP inspection in DHCP environments, and this is the commands that we took a look at in this particular nugget. But what we want to see is configuring ARP ACLs for non-DHCP environment. So it shows you how you would create an IP ARP inspection filter to go ahead and put in your static entry. This would be just like our IP source guard functionality if we wanted to go ahead and do IP source guard for static hosts. It gives us the background information and it would show us how to configure that. So in this particular nugget, we took a look at 2 additional security protection features that we can leverage the DHCP snooping database against. Remember, it's dynamic ARP inspection, or DAI, to guard against ARP poisoning, and it's IP source guard specifically to guard against IP address spoofing. I sure hope this nugget was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.